There are those that just want to be left alone, and those that just won't leave them alone. Which one are you? The Ernest Hancock Show.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, big, giant, humongous, independence-declaring kind of individual that does so at her own peril to her life and livelihood, Sibel Edmonds. Sibel Edmonds, heroine. Now, let me tell you, Sibel, I want to go on and pick up where we left off, where you were talking about we had a democratically elected individual for the Iranian people in the early 50s. It didn't sit too well with the powers of we want the oil and how the oil get underneath your sand people. And they said, we're going to go ahead and replace them. So we get a little CIA action going on. Boom. The Shah of Iran comes in and gets to play Mubarak for his 30, 40 years or whatever it was. So then we have, it was like, 25 years or something. So you have a revolution, and it takes some kind of when you have that kind of control, that a lot of times it takes some kind of a group or something of people. Well, the one that worked out the best for them, I guess, was the Islamic faith and the how the religious leaders got together and coalesced. But I'm not really sure if that wasn't, kind of manipulated by powers also. But then you have which power? I mean, you got, the Soviet Union doing their thing. We got us doing our thing. Then you have the people in Iran got something different. Now, let's talk about Iran as it is now for just a moment. What is your opinion? What kind of government? Is it representative of the people at all? Are they due for a revolution now, too? What's going on in Iran?
Well, they have been due for a revolution. And no, it's not really a representative government. But as far as, let's say, if you were to compare what they had before the Iranians, you had this class system. And you had so much corruption, the monarchy and the monarchy family and the monarchy's, tentacles in there. And then you had this 75-80% of people who were just totally the bottom of the barrel. So actually, relatively speaking, they were initially better, but it's not. But then again, we left Iran when I was 11 years old, and we went back to my home country, which was Turkey. And this is when we actually had the military coup in Turkey, again, thanks to the United States. And this was the military-installed regime that came into power in 1981, and we had the curfews. This was a coup, military coup, and we were under this curfews and these really authoritarian, militaristic regime for years and years until it got a tiny bit more relaxed. And it has a really bad human rights records there in Turkey too. But what I'm trying to say is, as far as foreign policies are concerned for the United States, we were pretty well aware, people on the other side, the recipients of the hypocrisy of it. We have a nation that talks about going and promoting democracy, and if you look at our records, all we have done, especially in that part of the world, the Middle East, and recently being in the last 20 years, is all over Central Asia. I mean, you look at hundreds of millions of dollars we are giving every year to the regimes in Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan, and you look at these dictators that are ruling these countries. You're looking at these dictators that are boiling their people alive. And I'm not exaggerating. You just take a look at even State Department's own human rights report that they issue every year, saying here's the records for these people, and then yet we are handing these people, with Mubarak, we handed out $1.5 billion a year. So we have been installing, maintaining, supporting, feeding, and this is material support, financial support, training of these dictators around the world. And
it's not to benefit the people. And as they...
Neither places, Ernest.
No, ever.
There, and nor the Americans here, the American people. You're looking at here small businesses that are shutting down because of, they can't even secure loans with the climate. You're looking at the disastrous state of the, people not being able to obtain health care. You're looking at our unbelievable deficit And then you say, we are handing out $1.2 billion to Egypt. We are handing out Israel $1 billion. We are giving $300 million to this dictator. Now you put all that amount and say, all the things we could be doing. And not only that, by doing that, by installing these regimes, by maintaining them, we are creating radicals who hate us as a country, because we may say, well, it's not us, the Americans, it's our government, and this government is not representing us. But if you put yourself in their shoes, they are saying, you know what? Your tax money is paying that government who is doing this, and you are the ones who are electing, so don't come and tell us that, no, it's not us, it's our bad government. That ends up implicating us, the Americans here in this case. And you have to kind of pause and say, maybe they have a little bit of right of saying, well, you as nation, you guys are a little bit guilty in this, and accept some responsibility. Handing out your taxes to this government that you say you voted for, and they are doing this in your name, on your behalf, all over the world. Well,
okay, now, Sibel, you know where I'm going to go with this. You and I have had this conversation before. I don't trust our elections any more than the Egyptian people trust Mubarak's. Okay,
neither do I.
So I'm just, this is, the kind of conversation over the years that we've had. You're going, well, we got to go in and bring some people together to, try and take over. When we look at CPAC, just over this last weekend, Ron Paul wins, and the leadership and Fox News come out, oh, well, it doesn't count.
Oh, not only that, Ernest, it's the alternative media too. Because 2 days later, I'm looking at this website, Politico, the so-called alternative, and they have listed 14, 15 big-name mumbo-jumbo titled analysts who come from this foundation and that foundation and this organization and that organization, where the funding comes from the military-industrial complex, where the funding comes from the big corporations who have all the reason to hate Ron Paul and want to marginalize him in public and show him off as some kind of a fringe. And they are quoting one after another. There are 15, 20 people. They're saying, oh, it's a joke. He's not a viable candidate. Because he's not. Because Ron Paul has been way too consistent. Listen, you see, that is not a politician if you're too consistent. If you're a straight talker, if you're not corrupt, if you have never been a part of any junket in Congress, show me one other congressional elected representative who has this track record as Ron Paul. Well, according to these people, he's not viable. And this is what they're giving people.
I'll tell you, I want to share this. I want to share this one thing with you, Sibel. My wife, we were watching online when Donald Trump gave his little spiel, and he said, oh, he's not electable. And, of course, the crowd went crazy and want to beat him up and so on. And my wife made a quick observation. She goes, the question should be asked is, why would he say that? Who's making him say that? Why would, what makes him unelectable? Is that the American people doesn't like what he has to say? Or is there a machine that makes sure that he's not going to get elected?
Sure, it's the machine, and the media is part of that machine. And it's the propaganda that goes, because when they do it, and you're looking at the Washington Post and New York Times and the so-called, the quasi-alternative, painting this man, the only viable man, as a nutcase or a fringe, well, you know what? This is what you get. You get Obama administration, and you're getting this unbelievable swing of the pendulum going only one direction.
One direction. One direction. We know it. When we come back with Sibel Edmonds in the next segment, I promise we're going to get right to Mark Grossman. You're going to want to hear about this breaking news from Sibel Edmonds. We'll be right back.